Hi, welcome to Survival 2010. I'm Reena Jadhav for Vator TV, and this segment is sponsored by NewResume.com, the largest student resume network for college students looking for freelance projects. Why don't you cut your burn in Survival 2010 by hiring students? Go to NewResume.com to post your free project today. Our guest today is Randy Haykin, the Managing Director of Outlook Ventures and the Chairman of Haykin Capital. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Reena.
So now I hear it's bloodbath. What are you seeing out in the marketplace?
Well, okay, bloodbath is a pretty strong word. I'm very fortunate right now to be working with some very bright entrepreneurs. So I'm seeing both the positives and the negatives. A lot of creativity, tremendous amount of creativity. I wouldn't call it a bloodbath, but I think people are doing what they need to do to readjust in the market.
Okay, so let's go straight into survival tips.
Sure.
Let's start with revenue. Give us some of your top survival tips around revenue generation.
Sure. Well, a lot of the boards that I'm currently sitting on, the role of the board is to work with the CEO on rethinking and adjusting on the revenue side, in a sense. So not only to monitor and make sure that we're hitting the numbers that we said we would, but think of creative new ways that we can get at revenue. One top one that I've noticed is just taking a look again at the value proposition. And in many ways, a lot of the customers are playing a role in this. So where we find, for example, we find a lot of the entrepreneurs reevaluating pricing based on the value proposition. If they
you mean bringing it down?
Well, bringing it up.
Ah.
When I'm talking about revenue, I'm saying revenue generation as part of the business model equation. The whole focus for the board and the entrepreneur is how can we raise revenue, reduce costs, hence cash flow is in a better situation for this environment. So in the revenue area, it's either looking at new models. So a lot of brainstorming is going on. We're encouraging entrepreneurs to invite guests for lunch or have a brainstorming meeting, whatever it takes, get some experts in to reconsider what are some of the other models that the company might pursue and test out. In addition, I mentioned the pricing. The idea behind that is if you've got happy customers, and let's take, for example, an enterprise software type company or software as a service. If you've got happy customers, one possibility is to simply have a conversation with the customers and let them know that, you're adding more value, you're going to be increasing prices slightly, this is an adjustment to the current environment. And I'm seeing some of our companies are effectively doing that. Is it
actually working? Because I would think that in this economy there's price sensitivity already. So to go back to your customer and ask for a price raise?
It really depends on the situation. If you're in a very competitive environment, you may not be able to do that. You've got to look at other things you can do, so that may not work. If you're in a situation where you've got very happy customers, you may very well be able to tweak that part of the model. So that's one of the areas that we see. Another one is just looking at the current customer and saying, we've got a good customer base, what other services can we offer? And hence, what other small or medium-sized revenue streams can we layer on? And in this case, I find a lot of entrepreneurs finding that the service revenue on top of an initial product revenue is an opportunity. And so we're seeing a little bit more of that. And again, it's somewhat of a short-term strategy for some of the companies. They know they don't want to be providing services or consulting, but for the next 18 months to get by, this may be something that they have to do to keep the burn rate reasonable.
Okay. And since we're talking about survival, let's talk about customer focus. Would you recommend narrowing down your focus on customers, or would you recommend actually trying to find a new set of customers that might be more relevant?
Great point. We find a lot of the board conversations are about zeroing in on the highest margin customer sets. So this takes good analytics. Having someone on the team that is actually taking a very close look at either in the consumer side, the analytics coming off your website, or when it comes to an enterprise type sale or infrastructure sale, just looking at what types of customers seem to have more money available for the purchase and exactly what your sell-through rates are if you're using channel partners, how your sales force is doing, what it's costing you to have all these pieces in place. So I think definitely when you have fewer market segments to focus on and you're more focused, you can probably do with less resources. So it is a way of eventually getting to sort of the cost-cutting side of the
Great
company.
Great segue, because that's the next. Let's talk about some survival tips on the cost structure.
Well, this is a place where the entrepreneurs are getting very creative. One thing I find is this really tests the leadership that these entrepreneurs put forth in the companies. And the more creative ones seem to be involving their teams more in solving the problem. So getting the team together, making sure that there are trade-offs that are going on, traditional trade-offs between departments, engineering and marketing and sales, etc. And involving the director or VP level folks in actually solving the problem. Now, the most creative thing I've probably seen is senior members of the team actually taking a cut in their own salaries, or maybe taking stock options in lieu of cash in order to help get the company through a tough month, or that sort of thing. You see sometimes the company asks the employees to take a week off as a means of saving, and everyone says we're going to pitch in. So that's one area. The other is vendor management is actually a big area. For example, real estate. We find a lot of the entrepreneurs getting aggressive with the landlords, going back, renegotiating rates, or even potentially moving from one lease to another just to save on that as they're kind of downsizing in the current environment.
That's a good chunk of change, too.
That helps a lot. Possibly having someone on your team, if you don't already, for example, a part-time controller type person who can manage existing vendors, so you're stretching your accounts payable, manage your customers, so you're reducing your account receivable cycle, and possibly even going back to your bank regarding a lot of the companies now have loans, but going back and either the CEO or the CEO with the CFO or controller actually trying to negotiate with the bankers to help them out.
Right.
And you find in this environment that the bankers don't want to see the companies fail any more than the companies want to fail. It's just a red mark against them later on, so everyone's trying to work cooperatively together. Often a bank will be willing to potentially change the terms on a loan in order to help with a cash flow situation. But the revenue and the cost side that we've just been talking about, it all kind of filters into cash flow.
Absolutely.
And week to week or day to day careful management of that, and having someone on the team that can actually record and track that for you as a CEO is critical.
Absolutely. Randy, give us your parting shot for entrepreneurs.
Well, you mentioned bloodbath when we started. My parting shot is stay calm and collective in this environment. I think there's a lot of tough things to deal with for sure, but I find that the entrepreneurs that are the most creative and have faith in themselves and their teams, and the ones that look for opportunity. For example, great people out on the market now, reduced real estate costs, all of these little things. I think that would be the parting shot, is to be calm, collective, and focus on the good side of things.
Thank you so much. Great insights. I'm Rena Jadhav for Vator TV. This segment brought to you by NewResume.com. Thanks for watching.